to I'm From the Internet, a podcast about the internet, its users, and their consequences. I'm your host, deceased footballer John Madden, and I'm joined today by football historian John Madden. John, what say you with you? Hello, John Madden. I was just replaying Undertale the other day. I really like the part where the soundtrack goes da 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 da.
John Madden.
Yeah, so what's a you with you, Winslow?
Yeah, man. Oh, fuck. What's IU Pussycat is the what we're gonna say here today.
What's IU Pussycat? Wom 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 wom
wom wom wom wom. Oh boy. What's the story behind the something awful wom emoji? Do you know what I mean?
It was a guy made a thread that was just like, he was like, this is a random thread, wom, and people just thought wom. There's like a couple nonsense words that something awful kind of latched onto, like, there's like wom, plape, orb, tane, like all these little monosyllabic exclamation. It's like I'm casting a spell in eternal darkness. It's like orb, tane, plape, tane. It's just like all these wonderful little terms.
Yeah, dude, I just remember the little emoji of just wom going into a little infinity knot. Oh my god!
When you flip wom upside down, it says wom, so it's like a perfectly reversible
dude, that's the secret of wom, man. It's the riddle of the griddle. Oh man, that's so funny. That and yeah. So there was wom. And what that reminds me of is, you're familiar with a gentleman who goes by the name of Longmont Potion Castle?
Oh yeah, I'm aware of him. I don't really listen to him too much just because I find that type of thing to be really uncomfortable and not in a fun way, but I appreciate his artistry and like how long he's been going at it. He's definitely an accomplished prank caller.
Like okay, if you don't know, he's a prank caller who just has the phone numbers of many celebrities and would record these bizarre phone calls with them, like direct lines to like Alex Trebek, and would call both of them and then like call Alex Trebek and Tiger Woods or whatever, and then conference them so that they can't tell who called who. And and he also like did some other prank phone calls where like half of the words he's saying to the clerk are like made up pseudo words about like, well, it's Alligator Regalia Day here at Mondays, so it's been a holiday. Anyways, I'm looking to talk. Like he would just say things in the background that like means that like it's like as if you're standing on Oobleck, where like you just have to keep going with this conversation because you can't tell what the fuck he's talking about. He's
really good at making threats that aren't actionable but still sound intimidating. Like, what if I come down there and spin you around a little? Like,
that's so fucking good. I accidentally started a race war recently, and one of the things I said was, I'm going to take your son and throw him up in the air like a frisbee. And, that's right up there, dude. That's
I'm going to
so
throw your kid up
funny.
in the air like the intro of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna toss your boy. I'm Nebraska's #1 boy tosser. But yeah, he goes by the name of Longmont Potion Castle, which is just like an unimpeachably good name. And it's just been like completely melted into my memory forever. Yeah, well, I feel like I should explain what the last weekend was and how I accidentally started a race war, and it's been a whole thing. Jesus Christ. Okay. This is going to be one of those things where like the intro to the episode is 45 minutes. Okay. Dear listener, Winslow's having a hard time. I've been working like 12-hour days every day for like over a month now. My schedule during show season is this. Thursday, I pack my car up with stuff, and I pick up Alex and we drive out to the venue, which is between 4 and 12 hours away. We get to the hotel. We go to bed next morning. We set up the show, try to find something to eat. Setting up takes like 5 hours. I need to go to thrift stores constantly to get new material. And then we sell for 12 hours on Saturday and then 12 hours on the next day, more or less, like give or take. And then we tear everything down, pack it into the car, and then Monday we drive back. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are my days in Chicago. I spend Wednesday recording with you and doing a few other things, and Tuesday, if I have therapy, I do that. And then I also need to completely unload like 400 pounds of stuff from the car, refit it with new merch, and then reload it back into the car, design things, ship out all of the other orders that came in, and then Thursday hits and I do it again. And I've been doing this for 6-7 straight weeks, and I've got several more weeks to go. Yeah. So there's that, right? So this last weekend we were in St. Louis, and in order to save money, what I've started to do is just find a cheaper rental place rather than a hotel, because buying breakfast every morning is a lot of money and time. And so we've just been trying to find like an Airbnb type of thing. So I get that lined up. We show up at the Airbnb or the Agoda, or it's Agoda is the company, and they have not sent me the key code to like get the keys out of the door. Yeah. And I call them, and I call them, and I call them, and I call them, and nobody is picking up. I call the company, and the company's like, well, we'll just call them. And I'm like, but I've been calling them. And they're like, well, we'll just call them. And so they call them and nobody picks up. I'm on hold for like an hour, and they're like, hey, we'll just cancel this reservation for you. And I'm like, thank you for that. Obviously you'll do that. And they said, we'll give you a free cancellation. I'm like, yes, you will. Of course you will. You did not provide the product. You failed. Of course you're going to give a free cancellation. Like, you fucking losers. But then they said they'll give me 10% on top. Okay, that's nice. All they need is my bank account and routing number. And I'm like, suck my dick, you animal. Like, fuck you. So that whole thing happened, and I had to find a hotel like very last minute. So we're staying at the Radisson that is right next to the venue. I get into the hotel. You can already tell it's like half rotted. The hotel, for some reason, is like a ring of hotel rooms, and then in the center is like this huge open air thing where they have on the second floor, it's like the Presidium in Mass Effect, where on the second floor they have the swimming pool, so that all of the noise made by kids in the swimming pool hits every single hotel room in the entire structure. Oh, right? God. So, whatever, fucking fine. We go to the second floor room, fine. It's noisy as all hell, and we're there for a minute, and we notice that the air conditioning isn't working, and it's like 80 degrees in the room. There's no fans, and you can't open the windows because the windows are internal, and they're pointing out to the screaming children at the pool. Fine. First night's done. We take care of everything else. We set up, we do everything. We go back to the hotel after that, and it's sweltering in the room. So we just pack everything up, go to the front desk, go like, yo, you got to give us another room. They're like, fine, give you a room on the third floor. Set up in the room on the third floor. It's cooler. It's closer to the pool. It's even louder. Go to sleep. And I can hear kids in another room just like having a ball, screaming and playing, like 5-year-olds, like young kids. Yeah. Just hooting and hollering at like 9 at night. It's fine. They'll go to bed soon. 10 at night, 11, midnight. Kids just screaming. Important note is that the kids have a megaphone. And so not only are their voices louder, but there's megaphone feedback when they just leave it on and they're not saying anything into it. So it's literally just like, ee, Daria, come over here. Ee, shut up. Ee. Like, it's just psychotic for hours. And then we notice there's no other voices but kids, because the parents just left them there so that they could go party. And it's just like, it's like 3 a.m. and kids are screaming at a megaphone and like the walls are paper thin, you know, like it's crazy. I call the front desk. I'm like, yo, I hate to be a bother, but you got to do something about this. And so like 20 minutes later, I hear 2 people go up and knock on the door and go like, can you lower your voices? Can you lower your voices? And the kids are like, I don't know you. You know, that's my purse kind of thing. And they're just like, our parents aren't here. We're not supposed to open the door for anybody. No. And they're like, lower your voices. And the kids are just like, no. And so they just keep screaming. And it's I'm not kidding, until like 5 a.m. They're just hooting and hollering all night. And I just took a video of just like the floor and a bit of like, you can see the door, but it's the wrong door, of just the sound of the kids making all this noise. And like the sound of the megaphone, because like, come on, like that's a joke that we would make on this pod, is that they would have a megaphone, right? Like what are you going to do? Leave your kids with a drum kit? Like they're just screaming. And I put it on my stories, and it's like, it does, like a couple people comment on it, but then I put it on Twitter, and you can guess what happens. It has, I think, thousands of comments. I haven't really looked, but boy, like, yeah. It is a clan rally in the comments, and I'm going to war with these fucking losers. And like, it's just psychotic. Like, I have so many people responding to me with just like every slur in the book. There's this like very beautiful, tasteful photograph of a very handsome man kissing the foot of a black woman, and it's like a tintype photo, so it's like very romantic and erotic. And he like replied to like 10 of my posts with that for some reason, and like it's just like every lunatic is like, you should have called the cops. And I'm like, oh, I don't think calling the cops on a bunch of black kids is a good idea. And they're just like, so you think that all crime is legal if you're black? And it's just, oh my God, it kept going, dude.
I believe it. It's Twitter. Yeah, that's why I left. Like, I realized, like, every single reply I checked, the people don't make posts. It's just all they do is reply to people being shitty. It's like there's no person there. It's just aggression and resentment. It's like, yeah, I want to post with people, not this.
Yeah, it's completely insane. And to give you a perspective how big it was, the Chicago rat hole post has 5.1 million views. My post, which was like decidedly not racist, my post was just that there's these kids making all this noise at 1 a.m. with a megaphone, and front desk won't do anything about it. And then specifically, I'm just like, stop being racist to these people in the comments. And that has 4.6 million views. So it's like just shy of the enormous bullshit that was the Chicago rat hole. And so, boy howdy, it's been nightmare after nightmare after nightmare over here. I have not slept in days. Anyways.
Nightmare, yeah. God.
Nightmare.
Yeah, you can
Jesus
see
Christ.
During the hiatus, when I had like 6 months where I lived at nothing but like hotels and rentals, you could see why I wasn't very good for my mental health. I totally get like what you do is such a hard job to do, just the logistics of it all.
Yeah, it's just been like, oh boy, there's so many things I could say about what's been happening over the last 2 days that I'm just fucking not gonna. It's been bad. Also, I didn't realize that the picture I'm looking at here are 2 astronauts fucking.
No, that's the Neon Genesis Evangelion pose of him like over the body, because this is riffing on that scene. It's I guess we can sort of introduce it with that. This is a more recent meme I pulled up from when John Madden died.
I fucking welcome to Moonbase Alpha. John Madden. Take it away. I don't know where you would start with this thing.
Yeah, like, this is more like a mood setter. Yeah, because we're dealing with this was like the Italian brain rot of the early 2010s. Just a lot of really silly words and like total nonsense unless you were there for it. So this is a very fun one to dig into.
Yes, absolutely.
God, yeah. So yeah, just Moonbase Alpha is really exceptional. It's just this funny little emergent moment in online gaming. It's the kind of ephemeral social experience that only online spaces can really create. And also, it's interesting because it's a good illustration of the way that kids will wring fun and chaos out of sterilized, controlled environments. Because especially now, where there's this very big public debate about like making the internet safe for kids or what we should do. This is a fun example of like how you can't really childproof anything, much less the internet. How they are very especially bored kids are very crafty and creative.
I think about that a lot of like the schoolyard limericks, just of like kids singing really mean or fucked up songs, and like how those have evolved. And like, you know, there's a whole thing about how you know, the Batmobile lost its wheel and Robin laid an egg, and like all of that.
The cool S, yeah.
Right, the cool S and stuff like that, and how it spreads from school to school to school. And I don't know, I think that all that stuff is super interesting, but like crucially, it is revealing of just like kids themselves are clever, and the highest cleverness can be recognized by other kids, generally speaking. And so you have this like huge mass of minds that creates really smart and funny and interesting things that, like, you know, sit one kid down and have him write a rhyming limerick or whatever, and they might not be able to do it, but you get 100 of them, they'll write a tiny piece of it, and then the best ones float to the top, and you get all of the weird songs that you sang when you were a little kid, right?
Playgrounds, the original algorithm.
Yeah, and so it's just like really a brilliant look at how much fun kids can have when you just like put them in a situation and tell them to not have fun. Yeah, but I think for the uninitiated, because I'm familiar more or less with what the topic is, but yes, Moonbase Alpha, what we're talking about, is a free online game that was I'm not going to do your job for you, or do your job for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to take your job away from you. But yes, it was a game published by NASA, and you take it away.
Yeah, it was a free online game, and it was published by NASA. It came out in July of 2010. And because I'm me, we have a bit of a lead up before we talk about the game itself, because Moonbase Alpha is actually a part of the military entertainment complex, despite ostensibly being a nonviolent game for a peaceful wing of the government. And sort of digging into that history of how the military and gaming are kind of intertwined is, I think, pretty interesting, and kind of gives an insight into like the process that created this game and why it's kind of uncanny.
Yeah, there's there's a lot to say about the military entertainment complex, especially when, like, if you want to have a bunch of tanks in your movie, the military will be happy to lend them to you so long as you make them look cool. You know, Transformers and Marvel and all that. So,
oh yeah. And I think like a good is like, and gaming is not immune to that too. Like a lot of the tech that is foundational in gaming is downstream from military tech. Like I dug up this old 1997 presentation called Modeling and Simulation, Linking Entertainment and Defense. And they straight up say like, yeah, like the geometry engine in 1979 is the ancestor of what was in the Nintendo 64. ARPANET led to, you know, Mosaic and Netscape. SimNet, which I didn't know about, and I'm going to show you in a bit, was the predecessor to playing Doom online in the 90s. And yeah, like SimNet, this was in the 80s. They had a full networked VR simulation of a combat. I'll show you. This is the room. They have all these little pods, and each one of them is like all these screens and monitors. It's like what they call like a HOTAS setup, I think, where it's like the joysticks and all the monitors. You can it's like you're in the tank and you're real time communicating with the other people in their tanks. Like this was like this was a LAN party in the 80s. This is wild.
That's crazy. Yeah, what we're looking at here, the first page was just a bunch of screenshots of like a very, very clunky 3D tank game.
Yeah, untextured polygons.
And it looks like what we would see maybe in the 90s, but this is in the 80s, which is what makes it crazy. And so it's like, but you can tell that it's very much like a simulation. And then you have a photograph here of a bunch of army dudes. It's taken from high above, and it's looking down into like what looks like a server room of all of these different racks of servers with big fans on them and all that stuff. And they're very clunky looking, but they're huge. They're huge amounts of computing power. And it's this guy standing there. But then this last image here is like, I mean, when's the last time you saw a rack of screens that weren't flat screens?
Yeah, these are like built into it, so they look flat. But yeah, there's a cathode ray gun right behind them all.
Yeah, and so it's just like a guy in a tank simulator with like the joysticks and all the buttons and nodules and stuff like that. Modules, not nodules. But his view screen is like a pseudo 3D screen composed of what is probably 10 or so CRT monitors. Some of them are showing him like what the world looks like around him, and then some of them are just like tank information. But it's like a very, very elaborate flight simulator, like the guys with those home flight simulator setups, but it's done with like the clunkiest technology of the 80s. Yeah, fascinating. That whole setup is probably balls expensive.
Oh yeah, God, like yeah, because it looks like they're playing mech. Like the graphics remind me of Mech Warrior, which was like an early '90s thing, but this is like a decade ahead of that. Like I guess, when you have an infinite budget and access to the most cutting edge technology, you can make some pretty sick games on a technical level.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
And this presentation is also some good foreshadowing for why Moonbase Alpha exists, kind of, because they note that that research funding is different than it used to be back in the 70s and 80s. Government-funded projects are now a lot more product-oriented. Usually when you make something, it's based around making and selling a product. It's not just like, basically Reaganism happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like you mentioned this earlier, in the cultural side of the entertainment industry, the military is also involved. And the most well-known and visible is the way that the Let movies use troops and consultants and equipment for free in exchange for getting to dictate some of the content of the film. Like, the first time I was introduced to this was as a kid in the 90s, because the movie Independence Day, when the military went over its script, they made some changes because it deals with Area 51. And Area 51, even though they don't acknowledge it, is technically like a secret, base. So they're like, and so like the cranks were like, "No, man, they got too close." But it was just kind of like the first time I was like, oh, the government can do that. Like, interesting.
Yeah. And it should be noted that the technological development has outpaced, in some ways, consumer grade technological development has outpaced like the per dollar value over the some parts of the government interface, because all of like that tech that we saw with all of those screens for the tank simulator, a lot of the stuff from the second war in Afghanistan, they were just processing all of that on just like racks of PlayStation 3s, and so like they create this technology, they eventually sell it to another company that sells it to another company that sells it to another company, and that's how we get the earliest home gaming systems, and then those start to develop on a private level over and over and over and over again. Eventually we get something like the PlayStation 3, and then that is picked up by the military. So it's just kind of like back from whence it came.
Yeah, they're controlling drones with Xbox controllers. This all kind of feeds into
Yes,
itself.
Exactly, yeah.
And another example I think of when I can do this too is the movie The Hurt Locker, because since it was an explicitly anti-military film, they weren't allowed to use equipment or have help from the military. And then when it came out, one of the big critiques about it was that it was super unrealistic. So it was like, and it's like, well, yeah, if they wanted to be realistic, they could have helped out. They chose not to. I don't.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, and also like I went to high school during the invasion of Iraq, so another one of these I was familiar with was like military musicians. That was a very popular trap. The idea like, oh, you could just be in a band, you don't have to do combat, which is a lie, of course. But yeah.
Oh God, you know the thing of like when you, I guess you're not on Twitter, but there's the common refrain where you see like the most annoying video you've ever seen, and it's like there's no amount of money that could get me to unmute this. There's no amount of money that could get me to unmute the United States Air Force Band's Max Impact, which is a whole bunch of theater kids with big, bright, smiling faces singing into a microphone with a drummer and a guitarist and a guy on keyboards and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, there's absolutely nothing. This is like a genocide Disney band, like it's just. There's no force on the planet that would get me to unmute these fucking losers.
This is like if Joseph Gordon-Levitt existed in the Starship Troopers universe.
Yeah, that's true.
That level of soy combined with that level of like militarism.
It's always, this is a deeper thought, but like it is always really funny when you see like, because like, one of the vocalists is a gal, And it's just funny to me when it's like, all of the women that I talk to are pretty left of center. And it's really interesting to think about, like, talking with someone and being like, well, yeah, I'm a vocalist for a band for the United States Air Force, a group that just blew up a girls' school. And it's like, so how do you feel about that politically? How do you feel about your involvement with the group that just blew up a girls' school? Just, fuck, man. Like, it's just
More
so strange.
Female drone pilots.
Literally that. It's literally that,
Oh, God, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I'd never heard of Max Force before this, and I think it's another great illustration of this, is that the reason why the military has to cooperate with Hollywood and other industries is because they're terrible at making their own entertainment. They are not very entertaining or creative people. And also related to that, the singer from Max Impact actually left the band and then military service entirely because other soldiers, including her superiors, kept sexually harassing her and accusing her of being what we'd now call a DEI hire. Like, I have a little thing from her talking about her time on here. I'll read it since it's a little upsetting. She goes, I was forced to filter out many horrific, sexually explicit comments about myself on a daily basis when I was managing my job's social media accounts. Also, she has to manage her own social media accounts. Like, come on, we're the most funded military in the world. You can hire someone to do that. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, I also noticed that many of these comments were posted by individuals wearing the same uniform as me. Yes, I tried to address this issue through the, quote, appropriate channels, but none of them seemed to care that someone wanted to throw a glass bottle at my face, quote, on stage. Ultimately, I was ordered to ignore the cyberbullying and pretend like it wasn't happening. Due to the attention I was receiving as the youngest technical sergeant in the Air Force, individuals with significant power over me in my career accused me of not being good enough. My humility and character came into question regularly, and unfortunately, I became an easy target for abuse because I was too afraid and intimidated to stand up for myself. So, yeah, I kind of called it in one there. Women are more likely to be sexually assaulted by their peers in the military than actually be, like, injured in combat. It is not a good place for women.
Yeah, because of men. So, and because of the women that enable it, but because of the men that do it, And so it's a nightmare, and I just can't imagine why anybody would want to be involved with this. But, like, you see this, like, man-destroying, grinding death machine, and you join it because you like the sound of a flag flapping in your face or some shit. Like, patriotism is just completely baffling to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the whole, like, I signed up to kill people for money and it broke my soul. If only there was, like, the entirety of Western canon to warn me about that or something. Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, there's a certain part of me that's like, there are these, like, very gossamer thin excuses that you have to, like, begrudgingly acknowledge that when we're talking about people in the American military, where it's like, okay, maybe there's a couple people who had literally zero prospects outside of this, and so they felt compelled to do this one thing. Okay. And then there's people who you can just say that they were brainwashed by the American military. And, like, that's sure, a lot of Nazis were brainwashed, man. And is brainwashing really even a thing, or were you just cultured wrong?
Oh, God. Yeah,
I don't know.
To give you an idea of how bleak things are in the world right now, I saw somebody on Blue Sky who's like a PhD in military history sincerely arguing that the American military, that what was happening at the Strait was entirely the fault of civilians because the military is just supposed to follow orders, and it's not their fault that the orders are bad. Like, we are literally at the just following orders stage of defending atrocities. It's going great.
Yeah. All of that to say, obviously, the things that happened to this woman should not, like, sexual harassment is, like, never, ever, ever okay in any capacity for anyone ever. And, it should not have happened, and she shouldn't have had to deal with it. I also think that she should not have joined the, like, most telegraphed inhuman death machine on the planet. She should not have to deal with the sexual harassment, right? But, like, no one should. This is like a infinitely destroying machine that does not care about anyone ever. Like, these, they just blew up a girls' school, and nobody will ever face consequences for that ever.
Yeah, and also, like, as like the sciences, that's really frustrating too, because a lot of scientists in America, if you want to work in them, the military is how you have to do it. Like, I'm friends with somebody who's like a nuclear waste disposal guy, and the Navy handles nuclear waste disposal in America. If you want to do that, you have to be a Fed, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is a thing I want to do that I'm good at that could help the world. If that's the compromise I have to make, so be it, and I respect that. But, like, it is just like,
well. I don't know if you saw the Angela Collier on YouTube did a great video on this, but there's been a really big shakeup in how science gets funding in the United States. And they have like this massive document that the government released, that is like entirely written by ChatGPT, that goes into exactly how to get funding from here on out. In order to get funding now, you need to demonstrate how your research can create a product and how that product will help a particular company, and you have to have a co-sponsor that is one of these like listed major companies. And so like it is explicit, if you want to get funding, the money has, like, you will not get control of your IP. You have to be like, I'm gonna make a new thing for General Mills, and that's the only way the government will help you. Yeah. So if you're working on cancer research that has a not perfect chance of being successful, they're not going to help you. You know, you need to make a specific product for a specific company before you can.
Yeah, so they're copying Shark Tank, which ironically was not originally an American show, so we can't even get our ideas ourselves there.
Yeah, bad news for the sharks.
Very much, yeah. And so I guess, well, somewhat related to sharks, I guess, after 9/11, you know, to catch us up a little closer to the modern day, after 9/11, America got super militarized, and that included our culture and our entertainment. And my favorite illustration of this, like some of the European people in my Discord were shocked at this. Like 6 months after 9/11, the Disney Channel released a movie called Cadet Kelly about Hilary Duff enrolling in military school with Christy Carlson Romano, the older sister from Even Stevens, is like the stern, like higher student who bosses her around. And it, like, the ending of the movie is her kind of like there's a joke where they're doing, like, she like goes, what about gun control? And then they do like a flip with their gun, like, this is gun control here. And it ends with her, like, with her compromise was, it's about military school, but they don't use actual guns. They use these like fake white, like posing ones for doing their drills and such. But it feels very Israeli to see like a pretty young teenager, like, having to go and do military propaganda, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they needed it on all fronts. They needed to reach out to every type of person so that they can feed it into the grinding machine.
Yeah,
including Hilary Duff.
And while we're mentioning that, I also want to include 2004's Tiger Cruise, which is literally a Disney Channel original movie about 9/11. Before Fred, I was in a relationship with someone who was a big Disney Channel nerd, so I have some insight. Also, I'm the oldest, and I have 3 little sisters, so Hilary Duff loomed very large over large chunks of my formative years because they all loved Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah. When you first gave me the stuff about the short about Tiger Cruise, it said that it's something the boat goes somewhere and it comes back full of tigers, and I got really excited. But it turns out tigers is just like a term for like a military thing, like a guy is a tiger or something.
Yeah, like that's
what is it?
Like the people on, I think like their mascot is like a tiger. Like sometimes they're like a
the fighting tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not nearly as fun.
Yeah. Also, here, I guess while we're talking about this, it's about Hilary Duff. There's a really fun story I like telling about her from Disney War, the book Disney War. Like, there's a reason why like every YouTuber talks about Disney cites that book. It's really good. But anyways, Hilary Duff was this huge Disney Channel star in the early 2000s. And she had this like infamously terrible stage mom who was really obnoxious, and everyone hated dealing with her. And she knew how popular and successful her daughter was and how valuable she was to Disney. So she was trying to play hardball during negotiations. And a part of that was like she missed the deadline because she thought they'd come crawling back to her. And instead, they were like, no, fuck you. We're not making a special exception for you. You don't work for us anymore. And so that's why Hilary Duff went from being like super on all this Disney stuff to like one movie from another studio and then nothing. That's why she vanished, all because of her mom. And also that's why Kim Possible exists, because after this, the Disney Channel was like, live actors are too much trouble. Let's have our next one be an animated character, because if the actress sucks, we can just replace her a lot easier. She's a drawing, you know, like we can get another voice actor.
Who's the lady who wrote the book, I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead?
Sam from iCarly. I can't remember her real name, but yeah, that book is fantastic.
Yeah.
I totally recommend. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about it, and I recently was paging through it, and it's just like, I don't know, like I'm trying to like get a more specific way of looking at this, but I think what I've seen a lot lately is just like how we're all scared animals, like with like the race war stuff, and with Hilary Duff's mom, and with the mom that's in the urn. I just you would think that all I want is for my child to be okay and to be happy and healthy. That would be enough. And that's like the most simple human desire for a parent. But then if you put your child in a bit of stress, you could suddenly have several $1 million. And so then, one thing leads to another, and like your child absolutely despises you. There's just some sick people in the world, and I am currently processing a lot of it.
Oh yeah, no, I kind of relate to that a little, like, because that's kind of like my parents. There's also a thing where, like, there's a type of person where, like, if you tell them that your child is special and that they could, like, do great things or make a lot of money, it just makes them go completely crazy. Like, that's kind of what happened to my parents. Like, oh, your kid's gifted. He's like the top. We're gonna put him in the special magnet school, and then all of a sudden they just went completely psycho. Like, yeah. And then it's not just about you. I think it's because they see dollar signs, and then all of a sudden it's not just about you; it's about their bottom line. It's like how farmers just see animals in terms of economic units and not as living creatures, except with children.
Yep. Yeah. Luckily, I was never considered special. That's not true. They did for a while, but I don't know. My current thing is I'm not. There was some kerfuffle about an AI artist getting removed from a show. And it's just kind of funny that it's like, well, one of the benefits of not being terribly good at art for me is that I do get to sell things, and nobody accuses me of using AI because my stuff just doesn't look that good. So I have this little ace of the sleeve, So yeah.
After that little aside, I guess. So yeah, gaming was also exploding as an industry at the time. This is when like Grand Theft Auto 3 is coming out. Like adults are getting into games. They're selling millions of copies. And so part of this cultural militarization starts to spread to the games industry. So like in 2002, the same year as Cadet Kelly, the game America's Army was published by the literal American Army. I remember when this came out, I downloaded it because it was free. It was a free online multiplayer shooter, and it stayed online until 2022. They supported this thing for 20 years.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they did like multiple updates. Yeah, they didn't hide the fact that it was by the military. They used it as marketing. Like, this is the most realistic shooter out there because it's actually made by the military, and it's about like teaching you like famously there are different classes and you have to do basic training before you can actually play as them. And if you want to play as a medic in the game, you have to actually take like a medic exam and learn how to do like basic field dressings and stuff. It is like it's an odd game.
Yeah, it's an odd game, and like it was rather on the nose, but then you have what is it, Road to Fallujah? There's been a number of other games like this that have had they might not be made by Mr. Army at the Army store, but they will have a lot of funding and a lot of contacts and ties with the actual militaries. Like, if you want to know more about this kind of thing, EXP on YouTube, they have this long-running series of a firearms expert reacting to different guns from video games, whether it's like some goofball-ass blorp gun from Borderlands or, the guns from Stalker or whatever. It's really interesting if you're into the history of guns. But they also go into, like, why is it that all of these weapons that you see in games, they will like look really close to an M16, but then they'll make a couple changes and they'll call it like they'll just call it like automatic rifle or something like that. They won't call it an M16. It's because the manufacturers have like a license on the actual form that an M16 takes, and you can see a lot of the ways that like the Army will let people have access to certain brandings and things like that, so that they will have more positive representation in a game like Call of Duty. That's why they're all super fucking gung-ho and patriotic. And if you look at the politics of some of the later Call of Duties, it's like a pink-haired leftist like wants to blow up the country, and then Kevin Spacey saves the day. It's fucking armor. Psycho shit. Yeah.
God, yeah. And I guess in terms of actual gameplay, there is one thing I want to shout out about American's Army that would be brilliant if it was intentional, but this is a multiplayer shooter, and the thing is, it's like the army against terrorists, and you always play as the army. The other side is always portrayed as the terrorists, and you are always portrayed as the good guys. And it's like, that's a very, very on-the-nose metaphor, I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also reduces the ability of the game to actually be terribly fun because you're fighting against a pretty rudimentary AI that is eventually going to just become static. You know? You'll be able to plan exactly what they do. Oh, wow, hold on. The next game, Army Game Project, is abbreviated as AGP.
Thank you. I was going to say, I'm friends with some like former Chan people who are trans now. They really thought that was fucking funny when I said that to them.
That's so fucking funny. AGP, if you don't, I mean, Google it. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole transphobia thing. It's awful, but it is very funny and abstract. Yeah, like if you're in Anyways, so the Army Game Project, which is what this was born from, has been in development since 1999, and I found a quote from Michael Zita, who was the development director.
The Army was looking for young Americans between the ages of 11 and 14 to play this game. The Army knew that if a young American between those ages played this game, when they turned 18, they would be twice as likely to consider a career in the Army as young Americans who knew nothing about the Army. So we had a pretty important mission with developing this game. We became the point of the spear for recruiting for the United States Army once the game was released.
Yep, and according to him, this was the most successful recruiting tool ever built for the U.S. Army. Like, I know he has a reason to promote his own work, but still, like, considering how popular and long-lived this was, I do not doubt it. Like, this I think this was down to, like, billions of times.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free game and it's online. Like, that's going to happen, for sure.
I mean, I guess a version of this I thought I liked a little bit more was like the game Psyops, the Mindgate Conspiracy, and The Suffering were both made free on PC because they were sponsored by the Navy. You downloaded them for free, and then it had like a Navy ad when you booted it. So at least they let some people play The Suffering. Yeah.
The Suffering? Of all games, why would The Suffering?
I think it's the publisher. Those are both published by Midway, and I think they might have like gone bankrupt or something, or having financial difficulties. So that was like a deal for them, maybe.
Fascinating. I had no idea. Fuck. That's so funny because, like, I mean, one being named Midway is kind of funny, but like The Suffering is like a pretty brutal fucking game about like really graphic violence and you know, it's pretty bleak as far as games games go. Your family is still dead, even if you get the good ending. That's wild. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, odd choice.
Just like selecting different random things and just making them free, but like putting an Army ad in front of it is just fascinating. You know, just like have a humble indie bundle.
Yeah.
But in order to play it, you have to like play a little Army minigame first. Before I can play Psychonauts, I have to like blow up a whole bunch of schools or something. Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
No, thank you.
Part of why it took until the 2000s for the military to really get its grips in the video game industry is because a lot of the game industry didn't want to work with it. Like, it was still kind of focused more on children in the early days of the console market. And also, Nintendo and Sony are Japanese companies. They have a pretty good reason to not want to work with the American military. It's like, you guys did nuke us a couple decades ago. We're still a little sore about that.
Yeah, understandably. But at the same time, I don't know. They continue to make a lot of things with American input, you know. I don't know. I mean, it just takes me back to when the Onion made like a book of countries. They had a slogan for every country, and Japan's was "so sorry for being nuked." It's a whole thing. We don't have to get into it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, speaking of the military, I guess another, like, one of these sort of failed examples was the military actually approached Atari about taking Battlezone, their tank game, and making a modified version of it to train soldiers on how to operate Bradley tanks. So it never got finished because the people at Atari didn't want to work on it. It was kind of done under duress and just wasn't a very successful project. But a prototype of Bradley Trainer was made. I was like, hello, I'm Bradley Trainer.
Bradley Trainer, and it's just like a hunky guy. Yeah.
It does look interesting for the time because, yeah, games were super primitive back then. So it's basically just teaching you how to use the interface. You don't actually move and you don't get shot at. It's just about like how to line up your shots and calculate like bullet drop and stuff.
I do love calculating for bullet drop. That always makes me feel so fucking cool. Stalker had like really strong bullet drop. And so you'd have to like draw the bead way above the target's head and then just like wait as the bullet like takes its time to hit them. But it was always just like, because you're clicking away from their head, and then they make contact, and you're like, this feels so fucking cool. This feels so good. Yeah. I will always be a sniper in every game I play, you know?
Oh, God, yeah. And like that was one of the early uses of computers was like in the military for artillery to calculate those arcs. That's why the first computer game was Tennis for Two, because the guy who made it was like using the computer to make parabolic arcs. He was like, oh, this looks kind of like when you hit a tennis ball at someone. And then he just like made a game out of it.
Yeah, or the what is it, that early ass tank game where like everybody's your artillery and you shoot up and you have to like,
and it destroys the I played so much of that in school.
We should do a deep dive on. There's this free games website that you can just log on and play like SNES games, and it's all free. Because I was playing Sim Tower recently. And that's one of those completely unintelligible games that you need to read the 64-page manual before it even tells you what the fuck is going on. Yeah, that and like Sim Ant, man, fuck. Remember that? Remember getting your little globs?
Oh hell yeah! No, ants are great. I haven't played very much, but I recently there's a real-time strategy game called Empires of the Undergrowth where it's an ant real-time strategy game. I'm pretty hyped. Like they just added a new thing where you're like on the shore and you fight crabs and stuff. Like and you're a little ant, so they're giant. It looks pretty interesting.
I just like that you opened that statement by going, "Yeah, man, ants are great." I'm like, dude, me and you, bro, fucking love ants. That's funny. Aunts. Yeah.
God. Yeah. So we're in the early 2000s now, and this is when things did start to change. Like Pandemic Studios, who made Star Wars Battlefront, Mercenaries, Playgrounds of Destruction, and a favorite of mine, The Saboteur, they started making simulators for the military, and they even released commercial versions of those to the public, like the game Full Spectrum Warrior, which is an adaptation. Like they made a video game campaign out of their combat simulation trailer. Also, yeah, the title, Full Spectrum Warrior. I think the joke I made on Blue Skies, that's what I call people who edit the Internet Movie Firearms database, Full Spectrum Warriors.
Dude. Like, I mean, like, it's really, that's it, man. It's this game rocks back and forth. Full Spectrum Warrior. Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. Or just like Gender Spectrum Warrior would be even better. Yeah.
I think that was Rouge Warrior. When you misspell Rogue Warrior, it's the gender version.
That's fucking good, man. Rouge Warrior? Come on. That's great, man. Kinsey scale.
Honestly, why has no RPG made that like a thing where like you can give your character a Kinsey scale stat and that determines who they can romance? Like, you know, instead of just being player sexual or picking out whether you're voice 1 or voice 2. No, my character is a 3 on a Kinsey scale. He can kind of date everyone, but he's not into the extremes at either end, you know, or something like that.
Yeah. I just think that like a lot of that is emergent from player behavior, because in Stardew Valley you don't put in like I'm gay. You just chat up anybody you want, and I just love that it's one of the most successful games of all time, and it's just like plugged into the game that like, oh yeah, everybody in this town is bi. Like, you don't need to worry about it. We're all bi. That's why I had a tweet a million years ago that was just, real life Stardew Valley, this farmer is trying to fuck you. But, yeah.
No, I like that old video you did where you were like doing a goth photo shoot, but to the summer music from Stardew Valley, so it's really happy.
Yeah, because it's like stuck in my head, but I'm wearing like, you know, I'm wearing like my metal studded jacket and my like big steel studded hood, and I'm looking all goth as fuck walking through the woods. But it's the I think the springtime soundtrack from Stardew Valley as I'm like stomping around. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just stuck in my fucking head.
And also, like, one element about this I didn't really think about until I researched this is that the Xbox was actually kind of an opening of the floodgates, because Microsoft was a military contractor since the 80s. So now they kind of have an in, whereas they used to not as much with these other foreign-owned companies. And also sorry.
Well, I just love, I love that the original name of the Xbox was the Direct Xbox, and somebody had to be like, guys, nobody gives a fuck about DirectX except for computer developers. Just call it the Xbox. And you know that there was some guy there who's like, ooh, it's the Direct Xbox. No, it's the Winamp. It's the Winamp box. It's got Win in its name.
What I thought you were going to mention was the fact that when it was under development, the internal code name for the Xbox was Project Midway, as in the Battle of Midway, where we beat Japan. Because the idea was we're going to beat the Japanese at making consoles. Like,
that too. Yeah,
that's very. That seems, I don't think you can get away with that now. Maybe now that things suck, but there was a while where you couldn't get away with that.
I mean, it just goes back to like the dish soap called Ajax, because Ajax defeated Greece. I mean, that's what it's like. That is like a linguistic FedEx arrow to me, where I'm just like,
I did not know that. Thank you.
That's fun. And I, Pizza Hut is called Pizza Hut is because when they first opened the first restaurant, they could afford the letters pizza and then 3 more, so they went with Pizza Hut. No, but you've got a picture here of a bunch of tanks in front of the E3 with a huge ad. It's from 2002 or 3.
This is 2002. I'll show you 2003's afterwards. They did this multiple years.
Okay, so there's these big-ass tanks here, and there's a big-ass ad for Age of Mythology, which, like, I'm sure this game had some shooters, but, like, if you went from playing Age of Empires, and then you're like, oh, Age of Mythology, it's Age of Empires, but with gods, and then you play that, you're like, oh, this sucks, with a capital S on both sides. It sucks, because it makes no sense. The power scaling is completely bizarre, and it doesn't feel nearly as fun to send in an army of sphinxes when you were playing a game with, like, regimented armies with historically accurate weapons. And it's crazy that they made a game where you're, like, training armies of, like, goblins and monsters and stuff, and it's not fun.
Oh yeah, like Age of Empires is kind of like a great example of an educational game that, like, actually, like, a game that is unintentionally maybe educational. But yeah, I learned a lot about ancient history and civilizations from playing that game. And yeah, Ensemble Studios, Microsoft did them dirty. The last thing they ever did was make a console real-time strategy in the Halo universe that nobody bought. Like,
I mean, my heart still breaks looking at that ad for the Age of Empires thing where, like, they had, like, an image of the glossy like Stone Age warriors, and then the Middle Age warriors, and then they had modern Age of Empires, which was more or less Age of Empires 3. I could be remembering this wrong.
3 was like American colonial age, like the 1700s.
Yeah, I loved Age of Empires 3.
Maybe you think of Empire Earth. Empire Earth was like a competitor that tried to, like, do all the way up to, like, future sci-fi stuff. So it was like the different.
No, but it was an ad for Age of Empires that was like Age of Empires 1 was this, 2 was this, 3 was this, 4 is like modern army, and then 5 is going to be the armies of space. And, like, that roadmap would have been sick, because I loved Age of Empires 3. Especially, I love, like, the card system that everybody else seems to have hated, but, like, I plugged hours into that game. I think I was the Sioux, or it might have I think it might have been playing as Hiawatha, and I slaughtered. I was like a reverse Columbus, because I killed all the Italians. I fucking loved that game, and then they just never did it because the gaming world's focus shifted over to console games, and RTSs are really hard to do on consoles. If you're not a gamer listening to this, log off, because this is not a fun podcast for you right now. But,
yeah,
it was so good.
They spent all this money to take over, like, a huge amount of E3. Like, they had like stage shows they would do. They have live performances of, like, army guys quick rappelling down from the ceiling and doing room clearing exercises and stuff to show off for the gamers. And then in 2003, they did it again, and they, more tanks, bigger sign, more advertising. And they had, like, a full, like, combat simulation environment where they would have, like, people running around, like, what very obviously looks like a mock-up of an Iraqi village that's been bombed out.
I want there to be a completely unintegrated country that can they're on the moon, maybe on a moon base, maybe the first one. Maybe a Moonbase alpha, looking down at us, and then just writing a historical review of the behaviors of this imperial empire. Because, like, if North Korea was doing the shit that, like, I
thought that a lot researching this.
Like, they're trying to get children excited to go to the Middle East to die for a pedophile oil tycoon. It's just like, it's never been so naked, and people have never cared so little.
Yeah, I got like 90s video games make kids violent, bad. 2000s video games make kid violent, good.
Literally that, dude. That's the fucking that's exactly it. It's you're just changing the connotation. I hate to say it, but just after Columbine, Manson's website just says, is adult entertainment killing our children, or is killing our children entertaining adults? And it's like, I know it can be really cringy to do the, is God a piece of shit, or is shit a piece of God, Crowleyan, or did I just blow your mind kind of thing. But like, it is literally, you're absolutely fucking right, where it's just like, we need to use video games to make kids more violent. Like, hate this country, hate its people, hate my life, hate myself.
It's been sucking long before this, so it's just, a good reminder.
Yeah, it is the Legion of Suck.
Most definitely, yeah. But all that is to say that that's why the U.S. Army is credited as an actual developer on what is ostensibly a NASA project, Moonbase Alpha, which, has the NASA logo right in the logo for the game.
Yeah,
I pull up the Steam page here. NASA has once again landed on the lunar surface with the goal of colonization, research, and further exploration. Shortly after the return to the moon, NASA has established a small outpost on the south pole of the moon called Moonbase Alpha.
I do have to say that, okay, so I'm making my game, Project Zerzetsung, and one of the things I have to be careful about is that I can't show as far as I'm aware, I can't show the United States Post Office logo, because that's really protected, and they actually are pretty serious about it. NASA has gone the exact opposite route, because you can buy NASA underwear at Target. Like, you can buy NASA logo, everything, everywhere. Like, they've completely sold out their logo, and it's fucking everywhere. I just think about, I see NASA merch more than I see Kiss merch, and Kiss is like a complete sellout. And Kiss is they've never not been a sellout, but there's NASA everything. Their logo means nothing. They have not protected it in any capacity. So when I see the NASA logo on this, I just think, oh, NASA must not be a serious company at all. Exactly, not a company, but you know what I mean.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
Very positive reviews, and 10,483 of them, pretty strong.
Yeah, I was surprised at that, yeah. And on here, the developers, it has two credited developers, Army Game Studio and Virtual Heroes. So we talked about Army Game Studio, the people who made America's Army. The other developer, Virtual Heroes, they were founded by former Tom Clancy developers. And they're also military game developers, but they have more of a focus on simulating interpersonal conflicts rather than combat, what they call serious games. Like, one of their early projects is called Virtual Peace, where it was about providing international aid in the aftermath of a hurricane. It's more about teaching people how to follow procedures and such, or reinforcing conflict resolution stuff instead of how to aim a gun or whatever. Another one they did was they would do army medic training games, where you would show you, this is how you dress these wounds, this is the procedure you're supposed to go do to check them. Look at this super in-depth checklist of all the steps you're supposed to be doing in this, and telling you how I could see this being useful as a study tool, even if it wouldn't be very fun to play.
Buddy, the only Tom Clancy developers that I recognize are Tom Clancy's parents. These are that's when I introduce someone to my parents. I'm like, these are the Winslow Domain developers. They worked on this project for several years. It's definitely a passion project for them, but they definitely gave up after about 12 of those years. But yeah, no, it kind of dovetails perfectly with the rise of hyper detailed sim games. Not The Sims, but games where you do have to be really careful. What was there was some VR surgery game. Do you know what I mean? Where you are controlling the hands, and it's really wobbly, and you have to cut parts out of the body.
I think it might just be Surgeon Simulator. It's called
Surgeon Simulator.
One of those physics wacky games.
Yeah. But that there's different people have different kinds of fun and different things, right? And that's why fan-made projects are always really interesting, because there's this one fan-made stalker-style game that somebody was posting about on the Reddit, which is like, looks interesting. They've got some, like, it's very clearly you wanted to make Stalker yourself and just focus on your favorite stuff, except, like, really realistic, except the characters are all anime girls, and, like, all of the comments are like, this looks dope, get rid of the anime girls, and the developers are like, no, that's what I like.
I saw another Stalker sort of competitor where everyone's lizard people because it's made by a furry, and I was just like, can you make it humans? No.
Fuck yeah, dude. I mean, like what you like. I'm not going to play that shit, but like what you like.
That could be a fun tactical thing, like, oh, god damn it, I got a gas mask, but it's for canine muzzles. I need a reptile-shaped one.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. But, like, when you get into, like, this specific how to, like, handle healing, or, like, taking care of a wound, I am not really against that. There's some people that's like, no, I just want to eat the power up and get more health and then get back into the action. But, like, you know, for the 10 millionth time I've mentioned it on this pod, the game Neo Scavenger isn't, like, you don't have to, like, splint a bone, as far as I remember, but you do have to, like, staunch bleeding, keep the rags clean, and, like, take painkillers while you play through, because, like, you will get cut on your leg, and that will impact your ability to run. You'll have bruising and lacerations and deep lacerations, and you'll lose certain amount of blood. And, like, it just adds another layer of depth that I think is really interesting. That is, you know, kind of like Fallout's crippled limb thing, but, like, way more detailed.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that these are useful as teaching tools. Like, when I worked as a substitute teacher, one of my regular schools was a technical high school, and one of their tracks was teaching kids how to weld, and they actually had, like, a VR welding simulator so the kids could practice, like, how to hold them and how to do, like, you know, a clean weld without having to actually give them welding torches in the middle of a school day. It was very neat way of practicing and teaching that. That's, like, a good example of how you can use that practically.
Yeah, no, I get it.
No, this part's very fun. They also made some private sector games, including the rarest PSP game ever made at 500 copies, Hilton Garden Inn Ultimate Team Play, which is a trading game for the Hilton hotel brand.
Dude. That's so fucking sick. Oh, that's what I gotta get for Martin, man. I just hung out with Martin, Game Boy camera operator, on Instagram, and, like, he has this, like, insane collection of games of, like, all of the weird rare stuff. He has, of course, all these Game Boy cameras and stuff like that, but, like, gaming is just something that's, like, a really an interesting passion for him. But, like, getting him a copy of what was it called, Hilton Garden Inn Ultimate Team Play,
and the cover is just like a picture of a Hilton hotel and the logo. It's like when you see on YouTube somebody doing an electronic music song and it's called, like, Olive Garden for Nintendo 64 or whatever, except this is an actual game.
Oh, this rocks. I really want to find a copy of this. Oh, you can get some of it. It's preserved on GitHub and on Internet Archive, so this is fully playable.
Yeah, you could emulate it. And it's like, for understand, it's like a mini game collection where one of them is like you man the desk and take people's reservations. There's one where you, like, clean a room or something. Like, it's sort of like the experience of like working at one of these hotels.
Yeah, I wonder if they have to deal with size. If I told you that story, when I had to make a reservation at a hotel when I was working at Marriott, and I called the location, because my thing was, like, if somebody needed wheelchair access to the room, they called me, and I would call the hotel to make sure that their reservation was marked as, like, must be accessible if possible. And then I called the hotel, and I was like, hey, we just need to make sure that this one is in one of your ADA rooms. And they're like, yeah, can you call back in, like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever? Just call back. We're dealing with a sigh. I'm like, what's a sigh? They're like, a sigh. And I'm like, I don't know what a sigh is. They're like, a sigh, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. We just had another one. And I was like, you just had another one? Jesus Christ. Was it in the ADA room? Yeah. I don't think that they included that in the Hilton Garden Inn simulator, but this is awesome.
Yeah, you got to download the 18 plus patch for that.
Yeah, exactly. The nude mod for the Hilton Garden Inn simulator.
Yeah. So starting in 2009, the Army Game Studio and Virtual Heroes co-developed the game Moonbase Alpha for NASA, and it's quietly released for free on Steam on July 6th of 2010. I have a quote here from the project manager, Daniel Laughlin.
It started as an effort to prove we could create a commercial quality game using NASA content that is fun.
I'm sorry. That's such a funny modifier to put. That is fun. I'm sorry. Okay.
NASA was looking for a project at the same time the Army Game Studio was looking to branch out from America's Army. It helped that Army Game Studio and NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center are co-located at Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. Virtual Heroes has a history with America's Army, so we were excited to see them selected to support the Army Game Studio on the game.
Now, I have to go through this line by line because it started as an effort to prove we could create a commercial quality game using NASA content that is fun. That is really funny that they put "that is fun" at the end there and not just put it like create a fun commercial quality game using NASA content. That's fine. But Army Game Studio is almost like a Tim Heidecker bit of like a gun shooting store. You mean a range? No, we went to the gun shooting store. And co-located, you can just say like, Jay and Winslow are hosts of the podcast. They're not like you, whatever. There's so many problems with this.
We knew a guy in the same town as us and threw him a bone. Doesn't sound as dignified, I guess.
It's so funny. Yeah.
God, and I guess like we mentioned in the Ouya episode, the early 2010s was that period when everyone was super into pushing STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math above everything else. And this was very much also in a part with that. I have another quote from Laughlin here.
The U.S. is facing a crisis in technical fields, explained Laughlin. There are not enough students studying science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to fill our national needs in those areas. NASA literally cannot function without STEM graduates. The big goals for NASA education are to get more students into STEM fields of study and graduating into STEM careers.
Perhaps if they made those careers more consistently lucrative, then people would go into them. That's always the caveat is like, well, we don't want to pay them more. We just want more options because there are options. There are people that are graduating in this. They just don't want to pay them the money. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I feel like we're several generations deep on this cycle where they tell a generation that there's one job they have to get that's a sure thing to success. And because that job is so highly paid, that's also the one that's automated as quickly as possible. So the advice turns out to be bunk. Like, if anything, the computer people are a little lucky. Their thing lasted longer than most people's do.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah. And so I guess the problem with all that is it's a great idea, but Moonbase Alpha really is not a commercial quality game. It's a proof of concept that was driven by technical accuracy from NASA engineering consultants, and it was made by contractors in about a year. So it just isn't very fun to play, and there just isn't very much to do because, yeah, it's like grounded and relatively realistic, but it's just not very. I'll read the description so you can get an idea of what the gameplay is like. It says here, in Moonbase Alpha, you assume the exciting role of an astronaut working to further human expansion and research. Returning from a research expedition, you witness a meteorite impact that cripples the life support capability of the settlement. With precious minutes ticking away, you and your team must repair and replace equipment in order to restore the oxygen production to the settlement. And in practice, that mostly means you're running around and like plugging wires into boxes or like waiting for meters to fill as you fix stuff. And also because it's realistic, you're in low gravity, so your guys move slow. They bounce around. Like this is a very slow and kind of kludgy, like true to life, but not very fun or educational in that sense.
Yeah, it sounds like there's no win condition.
It's basically just don't die. You have 25 minutes to fix your life support before you die or before you run out of oxygen. And it's just, yeah, you have a checklist to go through basically. And it does scale with the number of players, but that's kind of about it. And this is funny too, because we're recording this the week after Subnautica 2 released. Like it is entirely possible to make a game about surviving in an alien environment that is fun and interesting. They just didn't do it. And they didn't have the resources to do it either probably, but yeah.
The trouble of people wanting to make a hyper-realistic game is that life is not as exciting as games, and so why would I log on to something that's slow and meandering and like, if I could only run so far without getting winded and I have to be really careful about what I carry, sure, fine, that's one thing. But like, if you want to focus on the realism, you're eventually going to have a thing where it's like, well, there's a small hole in my spacesuit, and I'm on the moon, so that's it. I'm dead. Like, that's not fun. That's not like an engaging thing.
You have to remember, though, this is back in 2010 when Steam was a lot more locked down. So the fact that it was a free game being released was noteworthy. Like, just the fact that, well, there's a free game on Steam. Let's try that. And so, yeah.
It just makes me think of Zach Peterson's joke about, like, how during the Super Bowl, GoDaddy would have an ad about, like, it's like a hot lady and she's getting out of the shower. And then you see like a shot where it looks like her towel drops. And then if you want to see the full version, just go to GoDaddy.com. And Zach's line is like, ooh, and then you immediately log on because he's got a hot tip about a boob on the internet. And it's really funny to look back at, like, oh, wow, there's honey, get the kids. There's a free game on the internet. Motherfucker, you know how many free dog dick fucking games there are on the internet right now? Like, you could never play them all, and you wouldn't want to because 99% of them are boiled feces. They're terrible. And it was just more meaningful then, but now it's just like, there's no reason to play. Like, 90% of AAA games that come out are not good. So, very different time period. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, that's what we'll do for today, but we're going to come back with even more harrowing news about wom. And at the end of the episode, we do have recs of some kind, of some sort of recommendation. But before we get to that, we do thank you for listening. We do have a Patreon, $1 a month, and you get tons of bonus episodes. All of that goes to Jay and Steve. And if you want to find out more about me and the games that I'm making, please go to winslowdomain.com. I have everything there. I also have Winslow Domain on Twitter and Calculations on Instagram for that. I've got some fucking insane things lined up, some collabs coming out later this year that are just going to be, oh boy, a lot of fun. And I can't wait to share more about them. And that's where you can find me. Patreon is in the show notes. If you have ideas for episodes, iftipod@gmail.com. Please let us know. We're always looking for more contributors and collaborators. And Jay, where can they find you?
I'm Brandstetter on Blue Sky, and my link tree is in the show notes. Also,
Perfect.
I did my 2 guest episodes on Scandalous Games have come out right now. So if you look up that podcast, you can hear me riffing about Jack Thompson feuding with Rockstar Games for a couple hours.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, that was fun. Do you have a rec? Do you have anything in mind?
I do have one for the midpoint here. It's kind of relevant to all this since we've been talking about the military entertainment complex. Weird enough, I'm going to recommend, I think, the year 2000 movie Josie and the Pussycats, because it's a satire of the military entertainment complex and like commercialization of art that's also based on a 70s cartoon. It's a very odd movie. It has a lot of like comedians from the time in it. And it is surprisingly funny. It's kind of a cult movie, despite sounding like it would be absolute dog shit, 'cause it's a live action adaptation of Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, that sounds terrible, man. But I'm going to trust you that it's good. Yeah, but no, I sometimes the description of a movie will not belie exactly how good it is. And other times it's the exact opposite, where I can describe to you a movie, then you watch it and you're like, I want to go home. This is so bad.
Jeez, how long is this black and white guy going to keep stabbing himself? Jeez.
Yeah, Jesus. Wait, are you talking about Begotten?
Yeah.
That was a deep cut, dude. Jesus Christ. Well, my rec is Begotten. Yeah, if you want to watch like a film where every single frame of it was individually dunked in acid, I'm not making this up, so that every moment of this movie is like a bubbling tar pit of the scariest, weird, dark dream you've ever had that starts with God disemboweling himself with a straight razor. Ooh, boy, it's a movie. It was the visual inspiration, and some of the visuals are actually used in the Cryptorchid music video from Antichrist Superstar, actually. Yeah, so that's I'll just do that this time. I'll have something else for next time, but that's a good get, because I actually like Begotten a lot. But yeah, man, please like and subscribe and get on my Discord and playtest my game with me. And that's all we have, and we'll be back next week with more
See you next time, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, explanation point, question mark, explanation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, explanation point.
I'm From the Internet is created by Jaybrandstetter and Wins the Domain. Edited by Steve Brown. Music by Steve Is Broke.